Hey, it's me, Ken, of Capital Advantage Tutoring. Now we're on to the third part of my How to Pass the 63, and that would be, what is an investment advisor? I'm super lazy, so I'm probably going to say IA all the time. IA is a firm. So investment advisors are firms. Remember, they're firms. They are firms that give advice as a business for compensation. Wait. ABC, advice, business, compensation, ABC, I can do the alphabet. Advice, business, compensation. It is a firm that gives advice on securities as a business for compensation. They don't give advice on futures. They don't give advice on commodities. They don't give advice on non-securities. It's only advice on securities. How do they get paid? Yeah, they can get commissions, but most of it's like from fees, like management fees, like wrap fees. They can get paid by the day, by the month, by the hour, by the week, by the year, percentage of assets under management. They can get paid for. They can get paid. I think I just said paid. They can get paid for not doing anything. So they don't really not do anything, but they get paid even if they don't do transactions. And that's where a lot of people lean that it helps, because they have a fiduciary responsibility to help the client. So that they have to do all the time is always do what's best for the client. So what happens is that when they're doing that, they can get paid as a percentage of assets. So what happens, and if I say what happens one more time, I'm going to shoot myself. But what they do, or that, is they manage the portfolio, and if they grow your portfolio, they make more money. So say they get 1% of your fees, and it's $100 million, they're making $1 million. If they get you to $200 million, they make $2 million a year. So they're on the same page, and that's why people like them. Unlike broker-dealers and agents who can only be paid when they do a transaction, IAs can be paid even if they don't do anything, which leads to a reverse churning situation where if they may ignore you because you're getting paid all the time, but they do get in trouble for that. So an IA, again, is a firm that manages your money. They can't actually execute the trades. Only the broker-dealers of episode 1 or 2 does that. Okay. Now, where do they register? Well, it does depend. So remember how the broker-dealer was the SEC, FINRA, and the state? Well, FINRA doesn't cover IAs. FINRA only covers broker-dealers, agents, and exchanges, not even securities. So IAs, there's no FINRA on the IA world. That's why you don't need the Series 7 to be just an investment advisor rep. You just need the 65. Now, an IA registers either the state or the SEC, never both. Never both. So the SEC, so they register with the state if they're between 0 and 100 million under management. If they have between 0 and 100 million under management, they're in the state. Between 1 and 110, they can choose, most likely SEC. Over 110, they have to register with the SEC. So again, 0 to 110, state. 1 to 110 is choose. Over 110, they have to register with the SEC. Now, there's a little loophole that if they're between 25 and 100, and they're registered in 15 states, they kind of get to register with the SEC because their idea is who wants to be dealing with 15 different administrators, all that stuff. So as long as you're big enough and in the 15 states, we can do it. Now, when do they not have to register in a state? When would an IA not have to register in the state? Now go back to this. Once, if they're registered with the SEC, they're done. No states, no nothing, don't care. They might have to notice file, but I'm not speaking about the federal IA. The registered investment advisor, the federal covered IA, don't care. That's the one that's registered on the Fed, and with the SEC, federal level, we don't care. State level IA. You're in Louisiana, you want to register, you want to do business in Alabama. If you do that, here's ways you can do business in a state as an IA, not an individual, a firm, without having to register. One, there's really only one. If you have no office and 5 or less clients. This is the one with 5 or less. If you have 0 offices, no place of business, and 5 or less retail clients, you don't have to register. You can have 1 million institutional, but you won't have to register. It's 5 retail. But again, you slap an office in there, you got to register. Unless, of course, you're federal, which is up there. Now, other things that are not IAs. A bank. A bank is nothing. I say this every time. A bank doesn't register anywhere. A bank and trust doesn't register. A broker-dealer is not an IA. Unless, of course, the broker-dealer is charging for advice, then you'd be an IA. An IAR, which is an individual, is not an IA. An agent, which is an individual, is not an IA. A issuer is not an IA. So again, it's bank, issuer, broker-dealer, IAR, agent, and anyone who's federally covered. Last thing is plate. I know you're all going to read in the book LATE. I use plate to remember it because I am just that fucking good. Plate. PLATE. Publishers, lawyers, accountants, teachers, engineers. I'll say it again. Engineers, teachers, accountants, lawyers, publishers. Publishers, lawyers, accountants, teachers, engineers. If they're incidental, if their business, they're not charging for the advice, and it's incidental to their business, they do not have to register. If they actually charge for the securities advice, then they would. Publishers a little tighter, but it's a good way to think about it. I think the next one I'm going to do is going to be about the forms, Form ADV, Part 1 and Part 2. Pay attention. And I'll have the next one out in a couple of days, but don't forget, every Tuesday night, I have my live Q&A, which you can talk about the Series 63, 66, Series 7, to top off, SIE, whatever you want to ask questions, I'm going to do. Tuesday nights, 8:30, and since I ramble a lot, feel free to turn the speed down so I sound like this. You all have a good night. Like and subscribe.